I am very excited. I am very excited to introduce our closing session for the day. We are honored to showcase an educational psychologist. She works as a consultant for most of the schools in Oman. She specializes in identifying and providing learning interventions for students with special learning needs. She is Ms. Massrat Shaikh representing Oman. Hello, Massrat, how are you?
I'm good, Anusha. Thank you so much for introducing me.
The stage is your, Massrat. I know we are 10 minutes early. I know you can just take your time. We are 10 minutes early, if that's okay with you.
That's absolutely fine.
Okay, sure. The stage is yours. Thank you so much.
All right. I'll just share my screen so I can start with my presentation.
Sure. Just one moment. If it's yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining here. And I'm just honored to be part of Education Influence. And as Anusha said, my name is Massrat Shaikh. I'm an educational psychologist, though I'm mainly from India, but I'm based here in Oman for more than 15 years now, and I have been practicing here. I'm a consultant to most of the schools, and my specialization is learning difficulties and special needs. So today's talk, I'm going to cover the different kind of resources and intervention solutions that usually educators and schools are looking for that can help special needs learners to accelerate learning, to close those learning gaps. So that's what we are going to talk about. I'm also going to give you an overview of different kind of programs that are available. I'm going to give you a glimpse of what the programs look like and why they might be more useful for educators to incorporate them in your learning. These programs could either be used into mainstream schools, they could be used into special needs programs in learning support departments. So it could be useful for everyone and most probably applicable for most of the schools, and I hope around the globe. Okay, so from here, we get started with my presentation. So as I said, here I'll be talking about understanding the learning needs of special education needs students, how to support special education needs in our schools, and mainly I'll be talking about majority of them in the mainstream as our schools are moving more and more towards inclusion. I'm going to talk about how do we include SEN students and support different kind of learning difficulties into the mainstream classroom and the support that educators can give them within mainstream schools. So under this presentation, I'll be talking about these different difficulties that we usually see. Now, in every classroom, the percentage is 1 in 5 children have some or the other kind of learning problem. Okay, so these are the basic learning difficulties that I will be talking about there, though there could be several different kind and their needs could be very different, but mainly in this presentation, I will be covering the academic challenges of children who have these kind of learning difficulties and learning problems and special needs. So we will be covering dyslexia, reading and writing problems, developmental problems, ADHD, auditory and visual processing difficulties, anxiety and autism, and executive functioning. So the programs that I'm sharing are suitable for all of these different challenges that we see in children and mainly into mainstream classrooms. Now, when we're talking about children with different needs, and all of you who are educators here and teaching into mainstream schools, you all must have seen children who are struggling, who have different kind of challenges, and you must have come across in your experience with the kind of support you're giving, or with the kind of support and resources that are available in your schools, that their needs are also diverse. They have different kind of needs. Most of them need different kind of support. Each child's challenges or difficulties are different, and based on that, they require different kind of interventions. So I'm just describing here different kind of support or intervention that are required, though this is not holistic, but a very general outline of what is required mainly. So the first is the access arrangement. So usually when children who have any kind of extra needs or special needs, they do require access arrangements, such as giving them extra time, such as giving them access to using computers to write or to read, or they might need access to a scribe or to a reader. So these are different kind of access arrangements that a student will need. So that's one section of intervention. The second is providing them with specific learning support. So learning support, when we're talking about this, so if children who have reading and writing difficulties, for example, in your classroom, so a grade 6 child who's reading at a grade 2 level does require the learning support. So learning support will basically cover the remedial learning for the student. So removing the student either from the classroom to provide that one-on-one support, or providing them in group, or providing them that support within the classroom, all of that is covered under the learning support that the student might need. Some students do require a different curriculum altogether. So if we have seen children with different needs, most of them could also be very hands-on. Some are very, very good at STEM learning. Okay, some are very good at computer learning. So a different kind of a curriculum merged within the mainstream can also help students adjust and also provide that kind of intervention to them that directs or uses their strength in a way, and at the same time is helping them develop on their or fill in their gaps of learning. The next is the cognitive training. The majority of the students with different needs, if you have seen, when they have learning problems such as reading, writing, or with math, they also have difficulties with their working memory, such as they might find it difficult to pay attention or to focus or to concentrate, difficulties with their executive function, to organize, to be on time, to remember information, to memorize information, to recall information. So this is a very cognitive problem. Now, usually when we are providing intervention, it could be that at schools we cover more of like reading intervention. For a child with dyslexia, we would concentrate more on providing reading intervention, on spelling intervention. But at the core of reading and writing problems sits this cognitive problem that is of recall, that is a difficulty of remembering information, that could be difficulty of focus and attention. So a cognitive training hits that core. It's that core intervention that usually should be complemented with academic intervention. And then when we do that, usually the progress of the students is much more faster, because with cognitive training, what we are able to do is stretch their attention span. With cognitive training, what we are able to do is basically improve their short-term memory, their speed of processing. So if a student, when they're doing the cognitive training, they're able to pay attention better, they're able to focus better, then they are able to recall and remember that information better. So this is why cognitive training is another part of intervention, which again I see as very, very important. Next is assistive technology, which also goes under access arrangement. So there's plenty of assistive technology that's available now for all sort of difficulties that students usually have. Something very simple is like speech to text or text to speech, which is on every device now. So giving children access to these kind of technology usually helps them again and should be part of the intervention to improve their learning gaps and to help them get access to through technology to learning. So assistive technology could include, as I said, different kind of softwares for dyslexic students, speech to text softwares, text to speech, online libraries, audio libraries, basically. So there could be a lot under assistive technology that goes. Then the next is other than academic intervention, which we do focus a lot into our schools, and as educators, we are so much focused on the academic learning part and academic intervention for SEN students. However, children with special needs can have additional needs that go beyond academics. So a child who is struggling, for example, with reading could be having difficulty with auditory processing and will require therapy to improve on that. Or a student who is having difficulty with writing or holding pencil, though we are so focused on handwriting programs and spelling programs, but at the same time, the child's need goes beyond the classroom to have the occupational therapy included into the intervention plan. So having the additional therapies, outsourcing professionals from outside to help and intervene and be the part of the intervention plan usually helps SEN students cope up with the learning. And the next is the social emotional skills. I'm doing my research in social emotional learning for children with learning disabilities as part of my PhD, and that's my area of focus right now, because I see that as one of the most important intervention for children with special needs. Because when a child has a learning problem, when a child has been struggling throughout academics, the worst hit area is not just the academics, it's also the emotional level of the child, it's the emotional well-being of the child. So that becomes, I see, as more of a handicap for children when their self-esteem is low, when they lose their confidence, when their interest into studying is gone. That becomes more of a handicap than the actual problem itself. And that I see whenever we are working with the intervention, set up an intervention and working with the student, that becomes more of a barrier, because children, when they lose their interest into learning, or when their self-esteem is low, or when their confidence is gone, or where they see themselves as not being equal to others in the classroom, then that becomes a barrier to intervention. So social emotional skills and targeting social emotional learning intervention, I see is the first step or the first layer of interventions. When you start building connection, when you start, bringing in emotional connectivity and start up building the social emotional skills of the children, and then bringing the academic intervention or merge the two together, that's where the intervention becomes holistic, and social emotional learning definitely should be part of the intervention for SEN students. And the last is the career and vocational training. Now, again, at schools, usually we are so focused on the academics. We are focused on getting the student through school to complete school. And that's where our focus really is all the time. But with SEN students, the career and vocational training comes much before it would come for typical children, because we need to be so focused on their areas of strength, so focused on where exactly they are moving ahead, and start developing those skills so that as they are coming out of school, they are ready to get into a vocation or a career, and they know their path ahead very, very clearly. So that again is a very, very important aspect of any kind of intervention that is targeted towards SEN students. Now, academic learning solutions and my presentation is more gravitated towards EdTech and digital solutions. And I'll tell you the reason why. The conventional methods and all the other interventions that we have been using from ages are all fantastic. But as we are all evolving and gravitating towards technology, and technology becomes a part of our schools and our part of our classrooms, there are several programs that are available even for children with different needs. And these programs are just fantastic. It's not that when you start using technology, it replaces in-person teaching or it replaces human teaching, but rather complements each other. It's just like our use of our phones or our devices that complements each other. We use our phones to complement our work. Similarly, using EdTech programs complements the intervention for SEN students, because it's all based the program specifically that I'm going to share with you here now. I'm going to give you a little bit insight into what kind of programs are available. But when we choose programs that are based into neuroscience and have the solid research backing that shows that the brain can change, and we have that neuroplasticity research coming in past 30 years that has only built up to show that a child with dyslexia can be taught to read, a child with attention deficit can be improved on their attention span, a child with slow processing can be helped to process information faster. And all of that is based on the neuroscience research that says that the brain is plastic, and with practice and with training, just like any other muscle, we can change the shape of the brain. So EdTech programs that are based in neuroscience and have this solid research backing are based, firmly grounded, and are made with this in mind, that constant training and consistent training does change the shape of the brain. So for example, a child with reading difficulties who's reading at grade 3 level but is in grade 6, or not reading at all for that matter, is reading at kindergarten level or grade 1 level and is in grade 5 or 6, can be taught to read at least up till grade 4 and 5 using EdTech programs. So this is why I would like to share with you all as to where we are moving ahead in next 10 years. EdTech programs are only going to flood our markets. It's only going to flood our schools and classrooms, so that we know how to harness them to improve our most vulnerable students in our schools as well, because they are the ones who need this the most. They are the ones with this huge gaps, and they are the ones who need accelerated learning so that they are able to quickly fill up those learning gaps and move ahead very, very quickly. So EdTechs accommodate students with SEN needs even within mainstream schools. If we are having like the specialized programs and special intervention programs that students specifically need, EdTech programs usually sit very well within the mainstream classroom. They give best opportunities for SEN students. That is because they help accelerate learning, and children are able to usually close up their learning gaps very, very quickly. And it is an equalizer, and I have a complete presentation on that on my website, and I'll share it in the end as to how equalizer EdTech really is, and because it gives equal opportunities, whether somebody, a student who is on the extreme of a spectrum, or somebody who is just mildly struggling. So EdTech, when we're using programs which are computer-based, usually adjust to the level of the student. It can be designed to help students accordingly and meet students exactly where their needs are. And I'm going to give you a glimpse of the one of the programs that I use. For example, if you see my screen here, and I hope the sound you are able to hear, I'm just going to run this clip for like a few seconds so that you get an idea of what this program is.
Word. Have. Or. From. One. word. This, but, or, one.
Okay, so you see this program, and with this, what I teach is, as you can see, sight words, all right? But along with sight words, what else is this program teaching? It is basically also targeting students' cognitive skills. It's targeting their processing speed in a way, because they have to constantly pay attention. You see this fish is moving across the screen with the words, and the children have to pay attention to the words on the screen. At the same time, they have to hear the words and then click on the fish that has the correct answer. So what it is doing is constantly grabbing the attention of the student, helping them to process information. So those cognitive skills that I talked about earlier that are so important to intervention with SEN students is working on those cognitive skills. And then, because it's a merge of both, it's a language program, it's teaching sight words, but at the same time merging it up with the cognitive skills of attention and processing and auditory processing, listening and looking at the words both at the same time. That helps the children learn faster, remember information better, and pay attention better. To slowly, by the time we are finishing the program, we are finishing one level of this program, children are better able to pay attention, concentrate, which also ripples down to their other subjects areas. So the student here might be struggling with just the language area, but doing fantastic in science and math and other areas. But when they are working with an intervention like this, it helps them enhance in all other areas as well. So they are doing much more better than they have been doing in math and science and in other areas, because their attention span has been stretched. They're able to process information better. They're able to pay attention better, recall information better. So this is how how wonderful EdTech really is. And I'm going to show you towards the end other benefits of EdTech. So yeah, this is just a summary of what the program that I just showed you was. It was Fast Forward, which was building up the one of the reading exercises on that program. This is a math program which I use. This is Zorbit's math. Now, usually math, half the time children do have a learning problem, which is actual and real math learning disability. But at the same time, it could just be a math anxiety. It could just be that, it's just a mindset that math is difficult for me and I cannot learn math. So the most important feature again of EdTech I see is the game-like feature, and this generation is all about video games. So why not harness their strength into teaching them and using that as a learning intervention? So if you look at this program for math, which is called Zorbit's Math, it's so engaging. The interface of the program and the way the programs, the exercises are presented in a game-like way. So it breaks down that fear, it breaks down that anxiety about math, and immediately children are able to engage with it. I see that they are able to progress through it much more faster than me teaching them through conventional methods. If I'm teaching multiplication through conventional method of teaching them tables, it's so difficult for children with different needs to remember and recall that. However, when using a game-like feature such as this, it immediately they are able to connect, and when they're so engaged, they're able to learn faster. So I'll just give you a glimpse of the program again for a few seconds.
Join Zorbit, Zoe, and Serena and use math to adventure across the galaxy. Learners will encounter math as an ally, not an obstacle. For example, on the grade 3 planet of Aurora Farms, students learn about multiplication by helping their friends harvest crops and prepare for next season.
So math is the fun part of the game.
Exactly. Students get to explore different strategies and build their confidence as resilient problem solvers. Back on Aurora Farms, we use visual models like arrays and strategies like repeated addition to build an understanding of what it means to multiply.
Wow, that does sound a lot more fun.
The best part? Kids love it, and it's proven to develop math skills while reducing math anxiety. Join.
Okay, so as you saw, the way it is, the sound, the game-like feature is so engaging, and this is where I see, because of that, they make huge progress, even if they have a difficulty or a disability with math. The next important is cognitive training, which I did touch upon at the beginning of my presentation, but I will just give you a glimpse of what kind of cognitive training. You must be wondering what kind of cognitive training I'm talking about. So cognitive training is basically this brain training programs that are softwares that can be used to exercise different kind of memory skills, such as visual memory, auditory memory, recalling information, attention span. So these are the basic executive function features of a cognitive training program. So when children work with the cognitive program like this, they are stretching their and improving their cognitive skills, and then building upon that the academic intervention, and this helps accelerate again learning faster. I'm going to give you an example of one of the cognitive programs that's available, and the one that I use with most of my schools over here and with the SEN students. And I have seen fantastic progress specifically for children who have attention difficulties, who are struggling with concentration and attention, and it is seen as an alternate therapy for building the attention span and concentration. Though some students in extreme cases do require medication and things, but with cognitive, if you have a cognitive program like this, it can also replace or it can complement medication and other other therapies that are used to improve attention span. So cognitive training, which I use, is called CogMed. The program has several different exercises which the student does in every session, and there is a protocol of the program to be used at least 3 days a week, just like you would go to the gym to exercise any part of your body and build up those muscles. And that when we consistently do those exercises, we are able to change the shape of our body. We can change the shape of our muscles. Similarly, the brain is a muscle, and when it is exercised consistently, it can change shape. So there is solid research behind programs like this, which are based in neuroscience. Now, EdTech is all over the place. There are softwares coming out on, in thousands on a daily basis. So we need to look at the research backing of the ones that are solidly grounded into neuroscience, that have been proved through research, have papers behind them that have been published, have been approved by councils such as APA or American Psychiatric Association or Pediatric Associations. So they have been tested and shown that they do help improve. So those kind of neuroscience programs I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about those simple softwares that are, and apps that are available in hundreds out there. But we need to be very, very careful and selective and know the research backing of each program. But CogMed is one of the best known programs. It's one of the cognitive training programs that targets the visual and auditory memory. So the session requires the student to work through this, like you see here, 5 exercises. In one session, the student has to finish 5 exercises. Some of the exercises here are visual and some of the exercises are auditory. So the student has to pay attention to the visual information and then respond, or listen to the information that's presented and then respond. So when we start with the training, probably the student is able to remember 2 units of information or 3 units of information maximum, and that's their attention span and that's their short-term memory. However, when we are completing the training, when we're finishing the training, the same student can remember 6 units of information and 8 units of information. And slowly you see that transferring into the classroom, that they are able to remember information better, they are able to pay attention better. And that, I think, is a fantastic intervention that really helps students. And I see the progress even over 6 months. And there's a research backing to it, that once you finish a cognitive training program, there's a 6 months window period over which their neurological structure is still forming, and you still keep seeing that progress coming in, and then slowly they are maturing and are able to take in more and more of information in the classroom. So that really works fantastic. A training like this takes around 3 to 4 months to finish for one student, but once it's done, the student could be left into the mainstream school, into the mainstream classroom, of course, depending on their challenges and their disabilities. But yet, with majority of the learning problems, I see that, once the student has finished training, they can go back to the classroom and still manage a lot of learning on their own because of their improved cognition. So I'm just going to give you a quick glimpse of what the training looks like.
3, 8, 6, 3, 2,
'So you see this exercise. This is just one session block that the student does, and you can see that some of the exercises are visual memory exercises and some of the exercises are auditory memory exercises. And this is how this is what the program looks like, and this is called a cognitive training. The next is assistive technology. Now, I did touch upon that again at the beginning of my session. However, I'll just go a little bit in depth as to what kind of assistive technology is available. Now, assistive technology is available, as I had said, on every device. Even our phones have the voice recorders, even our iPads or laptops that we use in the classrooms for our students do have the features of speech to text, text to speech. Windows 11 has an excellent accessibility feature that it provides to change the background color for the students, to change the lighting, basically the font size of the text, to be able to record or to be able to read straight from the computer, to be able to take the test. So these are basically assistive technologies that are available for SEN students. The only problem that I see is making them available for the students, training them with technology. The only thing is to train the students, to teach them how to use it. So majority of the schools, at least in this part of the world, are using iPads into the classroom. But how many times SEN students are trained and that becomes a part of intervention to train them on using the technology, because simple features such as a reader or a dictator can change so much for the student, for the child who's been struggling with reading or with writing. Just simple access to technology, when we train them on using it, can change their world, can change their performance from extremes. So, and that can have an impact on their lives. So this is, I see, as a very, very important aspect for us educators to be aware of what kind of technology is available, and making it available for our students and giving them the training to use those programs and to be able to use and access that technology. So I'm just going to give you a glimpse of one of the programs that I use for my student, which is called Criswell 3000. Now, Criswell 3000 is basically a study software. It helps with reading, it helps with writing, it helps with note taking. It can be accessed on every device. Once the student has a license to use it, they can access it from every device. It has a web reader, so even if they're going on the internet, the computer can read it for them. And it has a test taking feature, so that is when they have access to use the computer for doing the exams, they are able to use the software for writing the test, because the teachers can straight upload the question papers on the software and the children can access it. So yeah, I'm just going to give you again a quick glimpse of what Criswell 3000 looks like and what features it has.
For the past 24 years, we've been cultivating the Kurzweil 3000 environment so that you can address more challenges with one powerful and easy-to-use technology platform. We found that what matters most is learning independence, academic progress, and comprehensive support for your educators. As your partner in driving meaningful change in learning, we developed a 3-step plan to help you achieve all 3. Step 1. Connect embedded, customizable tools for reading, note-taking, writing, and test-taking to support the process of learning. This enables learners to independently process and articulate concepts more effectively. Step 2. Align features with research-based learning strategies to drive meaningful progress. For the third and final step, address the needs of a broad spectrum of students at any age and on any device. This gives your educators the support they need to do what they do best.
Okay, so yeah, that was Criswell 3000 and just the basic features that it has. But then when I use it with my students, I see this huge difference in their learning, just having that simple access to be able to do, the regular task of reading, writing, or studying, or organizing their work, and that makes a huge difference to their academic progress. The next is alternate curriculums. Again, when you talk about that some students might need different sort of a curriculum, a hands-on approach, because not every child is made for our conventional methods. Especially if you see children with different needs, they are more aligned towards vocational sort of learning, very hands-on learning. Some of them are extremely creative. Some of them are excellent at art and design. So studio learning is this concept which is emerging. And there are several schools that are offering studio learning options. I'm just sharing with you that if there are students in your classroom who are struggling with the mainstream, who are struggling with conventional methods, but you see them as being extremely talented, you see them as extremely being intelligent on certain things, then this could be one of the alternatives that's available, and it's a fantastic intervention and a resource, because here you're harnessing again or using students' strength and directing them. They do not have to sit and memorize things or learn things which they are not able to do. So studio learning is very project-based learning. Students pick up their areas that they want to work on, whether it's visual arts, whether it's, medicine, for example, or, world of finance and money. So if they are good at any of these things, they can pick up their area of learning, and then they are working with their mentors and not the teachers, and there's no defined curriculum, but, it's more of like research-based and project-based learning that the students can do. And usually I see some of the students just do fantastic on that. It is also very, very suitable for gifted students who have this self-study and this, extension programs that they require, and studio learning really fits in well for the intervention of children who are gifted, or children who are ADHD, or children even who are autistic, for example, because they might have this exceptional talents on some of the things which they can really, really do well, and studio learning just helps them enhance those in them. All right. And the last part, I think, is the career planning. As I said, it's necessary. It's necessary part of intervention for children with special needs. Now, I'm not saying that with typical children, career planning is not important. It's extremely important for all children. Career planning, right from middle school to high school, we prepare them to step out of school, to prepare with their careers. But career planning for SEN students, because this presentation is for SEN students, I'm just, emphasizing the importance of career planning for SEN students, because majority of them do not pursue high school or would not find a vocation or a career once they are out of school. And the research shows that in developing countries, 80 to 90% of children with special needs are unemployed when they move out of school. So it again is a part of intervention, and it is a responsibility of our schools to bring in that career planning for them. Now, we do know that SEN students gravitate towards vocational learning, most of them, or some of them may go to university as well, but preparing them, channelizing their strengths, seeing their strengths, and then building upon that, and then seeing what kind of careers they might be able to get into, and then preparing them for those careers, again, is an extremely important part. Especially STEM careers, I have seen, yes, we have always been talking about SEN students, getting into carpentry or electronics and all of that, but STEM careers, they can do wonderfully well as well. For example, designing things with the 3D printers, or video editing, or making video and photography, and these kind of careers, they can really, really do well. And I always see that children with special needs gel very well with technology. They can do really well, using different kind of programs. They can be trained at those and do fantastic in them. And there are several career opportunities opening up in STEM areas. So concentrating more on STEM can also give them a very, very bright future, and prepare them for the world outside of school. So with that, I think I come to the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much for your engaging session, Massrat. You must be exhausted. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Summarizing your session, using learning solutions and resources ensures that young people with disabilities have fair and optimized access to schooling and the opportunity to develop their independence, agency, and social inclusion. I do have a question for you, Massrat. The question is, the complexity of impairments gives rise to complexity in offering the different people equitable opportunities, which can be extremely expensive to manage. So how can institutions address this issue?
So, with the resources that the resources that I shared with you, the basic I think of EdTech is again this, that it makes it so much simpler to use it because it cuts down the cost of resources that you're spending on, it cuts down the time that you're spending on, and it cuts down basically the staff that you need. So when you have EdTech programs, teachers become more of facilitators because the child is interacting with the softwares. And this is why, as I said, I am emphasizing more on EdTech interventions, is because of all of these benefits that I see, and then that becomes easier to adapt to it into any school and any mainstream school. And the cost is it's far cost effective if we see and compare it with the conventional methods.
Thank you so much, Massrat. We do have a query from Sanchita Sahay. She writes, technology has definitely improved the way we teach, but a lot of parents worry about screen time. And for families who cannot afford devices, how does one approach these two questions? I receive this from a lot of families that I work with. Thank you.
Yeah, I receive all those questions too. And as I said, it has to complement, technology has to complement us. It's not there to replace us. Technology is not there to replace the teaching or the human factor that we have to have with the children. But imagine a child's day in school, for example, a SEN student who is in your classroom, a 7-hour, a normal classroom where the child is in your classroom, but he's removed for 30 minutes to work on a cognitive program. And then the child comes back into the classroom and doing all other lessons with the mainstream. So that lesson that is 20 minutes, it's complementing his day for other 6.5 hours that he's in the classroom. So it's not that you're completely removing the child and they're just sitting with the, a screen in front of them, but we are harnessing, as I said, technology to improve and accelerate to our advantage to learning. And that's, I think, the best answer to the parents as well, because I do get that question a lot too.
Thank you, Massrat. We do have one query from Rasha. She writes, can we use Kurzweil platform for our kids without any need for a school to launch it for them?
The Kurzweil license is also sold individually or to the schools. So either if the schools are not into purchasing Kurzweil, then it can be purchased directly from a provider on an individual basis if the parents are ready to purchase it and have the student access to it on all their devices. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Massrat. We have so many people loving your sessions, loving your devotion, and we have people from all over the world saying thank you to you. And we will be showcasing Massrat's session on our platform with her presentation and all the resources that she shares. And if you have any website or the blog site where people can follow you, please share us with in the chat box, Massrat. And
yeah, so you can see it on the screen. I haven't stopped sharing. My website is here, but I'm putting it in the chat box as well. www.massratshaikh.com is my website. And if you go to my website, you will see the demos of all the programs that I just showed you about. It also has information about the details of how these programs can be accessed, and yeah, so basic general information that you would be looking for, it's all there on my website.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Barbara from Germany writes, loved your session. Guess that is valuable screen time for SEN children.
Yes, thanks a lot for all of those who are giving me feedback. It's very encouraging, and I'm glad that you found it useful. And yeah, I'm connected on Education Influence on LinkedIn and also on Instagram. It's Massrat_Shaikh. You can connect with me there as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Massrat. Thank you very much. Thank you.